This is the final word, India, England Daily. As promised, Geoff, we're back every single night of this series. First test match, first day of the first test match at Chennai, and it was a marvellous one for the visiting English. Tell us all about it, as is the custom on the Daily Show, in the space of 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds or less. England had a great day. Elected to bat, looked pretty good. 63 for the opening partnership, and then suddenly 2 wickets fell before the score had moved. Then it was Joe Root and Dom Sibley. They batted pretty much all day. They put on 200 runs even. And right in the shadows of stumps, the last over of the day, Jasprit Bumrah dug deep, got Sibley LBW for 87. Joe Root made a massive ton, 3 in 3 tests for him in Asia. And England in a lovely position with some batting firepower to come.
Nicely done. I reckon that's inside 30 seconds. So start as we plan to go on. Wickets falling at 63, 63, and then 263. So two just before lunch, as you mentioned. Rory Burns, who got the start that he needed after coming back to the England Test team, batting with the hair out the back of the helmet. Obviously hasn't had a haircut when he was attending the birth of his child. Fair enough.
He got the beard done. He had quite a bit of beard going on last year. But right. So, start at the front, move back. Maybe it's a gradual process.
The 63, 2 wickets being lost there. Until that point, England were right on top. So the aberration, I suppose, was the 2 wickets in that session. Then they absolutely dominate the middle session. A great period of Test cricket. 70 runs added, not an inch given from either side. Ashwin bowled particularly nicely, but the board was ticking over and they laid the foundation. How often do we talk about, it's a bit cliched, but how much do we talk about Test cricket in India? You have to be patient, have to bide your time, have to get through the slow passages to take advantage of the quicker passages when the ball gets old.
What I like in a test match is where a team fools you into thinking that it's only going to go one way from here. Because that opening partnership, they looked very, very comfortable.
They did.
There was a missed chance early on, Burns down the leg side that Rishabh Pant dived away to and got just above the turf. It was a tough one. Off Bumrah again. How many catches have we seen dropped off Jasprit Bumrah in the last few months? He kept smiling and kept bowling, but they put on the 50 stand. They really didn't look troubled after that, and you thought, like, maybe they just go big and maybe this is England on their way to a huge score. Then it's Rory Burns. He'll be criticised for it because it's a reverse sweep. You can't get out to a reverse sweep without people saying, oh, rush of blood, lost his head. He didn't. He saw a gap in the field. They had a strong leg side field for him. There was deep backward square was open, and so he played a reverse to try to make use of that, and just played it to the wrong ball from Ravichandran Ashwin. That was the quicker one coming straighter on.
He didn't get down low enough, did he? It was like a technical flaw.
Yeah, but there was no turn. Shot. I think he was playing for turn, or maybe it wasn't the quicker one, maybe it was the one that held up, but the pace and the straight line did him, and it popped up off the glove. And then there's that danger that when a wicket falls, another one goes quickly. Dan Lawrence, leg before wicket for a duck.
Great captaincy from Kohli. So as soon as Ashwin gets the wicket, he brings Bumrah back into the attack from the same end, gets an early crack at Lawrence, the in-swinging Yorker, trapped in front, all ends up. But I like the way that Kohli's thinking. He wants to deploy his most lethal weapon at the new guy. Of course, Lawrence wouldn't have played if not for the fact that Crawley fell over and injured his hand or injured his arm, yesterday.
Wrist, I think.
He wouldn't have been playing, and suddenly into the frying pan just before lunch, leg before wicket. Superb bowling from Bumrah, one of 2 wickets on the day, picks up Sibley right at the death as well. Let's invest a lot of time into Joe Root. Joe Root, 100th Test match, 20th Test century, nice elegant set of numbers there. Third on the trot, as you mentioned in your summary, in Asia. Not many players have done that. 128 not out at the close. Looked superb, like he was picking up from where he left off at Gaul. And as we were sort of saying in the car on the way down here, he was out of the Big Four or the Fab Four. And again, this has been talked about a lot. Many column inches devoted to it. But how can you not say a player in this kind of form in Asia at the moment, with so many Test matches to play this year, he might be stepping into the best period of his career?
I don't think you'd see a lot of visiting players from outside Asia coming to Asian countries and making 3 tons in a row. So that's 2 in Sri Lanka, the 1 in each of the Sri Lankan tests, big ones as well, a double and a 180. And then he's still there on, 134? 128 not, with the chance to go on tomorrow. The interesting thing about Root's innings I found was it was broken up in as classical a way as you might want for the pacing of a test innings. So 12 runs from the first 54 balls, I think it was from memory. Then it was 77 runs from the next 101 balls, so up near 80 strike rate. And then the next 30 balls was about a run a ball. So he took the time to get in, got going at a very nice clip and then really took them on. And where he started getting going was when Washington Sundar came into the attack. So the selections for India, I think, will get some scrutiny.
Yep.
Very interesting. So Akshar Patel was injured, left-arm spinner who's a very decent batsman. And because he wasn't able to be in the side, you could tell they were thinking, well, they want someone with batting at number 7. So Washington Sundar got the call-up because Akshar Patel wasn't there to fill in that 7 spot himself.
Yeah, and I suppose on the back of what we saw in Brisbane, it feels like a long time ago, but just a couple of weeks ago, he deserved to keep his spot. But the two supplementary spinners with Naveed as well, I think taken as a whole, this wasn't the 11 that India wanted to put on the park. They would have liked a different configuration, and it was taken advantage of. Ashwin going at a little bit better than
he went at 2.5. He went at just on 2.5.
And the other spinners on average 4 and over on day one on an absolute dead road as well, I should add. Playing 3 spinners in a situation like that, you've got to dry up the run rate. I mentioned it before, but if you're bowling on day one, and I know that England didn't get away from them at any stage, they're only 263 at the close. It's not as though they've truly gotten away, although they did add 123 runs in the last 32 overs today. I think Root might have scored his second 50 and 60-odd ball. So they did take advantage of that old ball before the 80-over mark. But you need your spinners to go at 2 and over. You need them to completely tie you up, and they weren't able to do that. In fact, the opposite was true, especially with Joe Root. He's in such fine form against slow bowling at the moment. He was able to transfer the pressure back onto the Indian spinners.
He made a point of attacking Washington Sundar and Shahbaz Nadeem. He got frequent boundaries, often just the one from the over. He didn't over-attack, but he was able to pick up boundaries on a regular basis. That kept him moving along, and that configuration with Shahbaz Nadeem they had because they wanted a left arm spinner. So he was filling in for Akshar as the left arm spinner, but Washington Sundar was filling in for Akshar as the batsman. And so in the end, it squeezed out the chance to have a third seamer. So had Akshar Patel been fit at 7,
well, Siraj would have played.
They would have had Ashwin at 8, and then presumably 3 seamers with Siraj playing, and maybe you have a much different scoreline at the end of the day. So that's an interesting one, how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, and as far as Siraj, we saw how frugal he can be coming off the back of a 5-wicket haul, a tremendous effort leading that attack in Australia. You could rarely see a player getting left out after such a fine performance. On the other side of the ledger, Stuart Broad isn't playing. We'll come to that later in the match, but it seems as though they have formed a view that it's Broad or Anderson, because if there's ever going to be a scenario where both would play, you might think it'd be at the start of a series, but Broad's wearing the bib this week.
Yeah, and look, that was one we talked about where we thought maybe Broad would start the series because he can be so good starting off, but maybe let him sit and steam and get mad for a while at being left out, and then he'll come on and take a power of wickets. They've got the 2 spinners they want in Bess and Leach. They've got Jofra Archer for that firepower. They've got Stokes as the sort of swing factor, third seamer. So there are the options there for England, and I think they're pretty well placed in terms of a bowling attack, and particularly if they're coming in after having posted a big score.
I don't know how many minutes we're into the podcast, Geoff, but we haven't talked about the guy that faced 286 deliveries and would be a contender for our player of the day alongside Joe Root. He was dismissed with the final ball of the day, what turned out to be the final ball because they took stumps 3 deliveries prematurely on account of the fact that Sibley was lead before to Bumrah. But what a contribution. We've seen it a number of times now in South Africa, this time last year, of course, against the West Indies in that long 130 odd he made at the Ageas Bowl, I think it was, early on in that series. And we've seen it again today, and indeed the half century he made in the 4th innings at Gaul a couple of weeks ago. So he's building in confidence. His half century took 164 balls to bring up, I think it was, which is, Pujara-esque in terms of the occupation of the crease. He's tall, he gets a long way forward, he's not dancing at the spin, he's just lunging at the spin. It works for him, he's got a method, it's not pretty through the leg side. No one's ever going to be sort of making YouTube compilations of Dom Sibley boundaries or anything like that, clipping through mid-wicket all day long. But
people have some strange habits though, you never know.
But they didn't make YouTube compilations of Alistair Cook either, and he made in excess of 12,000 test runs, probably even more than that by the time he was done. I think it was closer to 15,000 test runs.
All I kept thinking about watching Sibley today was Guardian cricket writer Tanya Aldred picking up on the exchange between he and the Sri Lankan keeper Naresh Dikwela. Dikwela saying, what do you think? Are you going to be opening the batting in India? And Dom Sibley saying, I don't know, I haven't had a very good series. No pretensions, no flair, no flash, and that's all that he did today was use the stride to get down to the spinners, smother the spin, wait in the crease against the faster bowling, and then pick off the old run run when, they tried to bowl very straight to him, tried to get him caught down the leg side, and he was able to bat through almost an entire day. And how frustrating to get out 3 balls from the close. But Bumrah did look dangerous those last couple of overs. There were a few Yorkers where Sibley was only just keeping them out, and then there was the one that he couldn't.
Yeah, because Bumrah doesn't give up, does he? Bumrah finishes with figures of 2 for 40 on the day, his first Test match in India, but charged in all day and did what he needed to do. Looking at Sibley sort of as a long-term prospect, look, again, it's not about the aesthetics, but it needn't be. It reinforces, again, that Test cricket takes all types. You can take Rishabh Pant batting at the final day at Brisbane, at Shubham Gill in that ostentatious innings to start that chase off, and then Pujara and Sibley can succeed as well, playing a very different kind of role. So the fact that he is now shown in multiple countries he can do it augurs well for a long international career from Dom Sibley. Only in his mid-20s, he's got time on his side. I would say, given that I suspect Joe Root is a contender for Player of the Day again tomorrow.
I think
maybe this is
he's
flawed
more
logic.
than a contender today, though.
Maybe this is flawed logic, but on account of the fact that I believe Root might win it again tomorrow, so much batting to come.
That's like the Body of Work Academy Award for Martin Scorsese, though. Like,
it is
did he actually deserve it for The Departed? I'm not sure that he did. It was okay. It wasn't great.
Departed's a great flick.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but that's for a very long time. Look, there are Plastic Boots and Mark Wahlberg and stuff. Nonetheless, you can't not give it to someone when they deserve it. I mean, the guy's come out and peeled off 100 at a run of ball basically after getting himself set. I think it's got to go to Joseph, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Giuseppe Root is our Player of the Day. Geoff, moving on to our Hall of Fame.
Final Word Hall of Fame.
If you're new to our Final Word dailies, England daily now. It was the India daily when they played Australia. It was the Ashes daily back in 2019 and the World Cup daily in that tournament, the men's tournament in June, July. So many daily shows. There's been the one constant, the Hall of Fame. Now, we have got a slew of nominations, and if you want to send through your candidate, there's an easy way to do it. Jump on Twitter, Collins Adam, Geoff Lemon Sport. You'll find us and you can make nominations, and we had some today. We had one from MJ Noster, we had one from Mel Shawley, and they were all over it must be said, but I picked up some as well. I love the idea that India were wearing brand new baggy blue caps today. It was a nice touch. You see the Australian players, for example, wearing their tattered baggy old baggy greens. That wasn't always that way. There's a reason why Don Bradman's had so many baggy greens to eventually be auctioned off. It's because and given to charity more often than not. It's because they gave one per tour. I like the fact that all of them walked out in brand new blue caps this morning. I also like, while we're talking about sartorial decisions, well, not so much sartorial in this case, but how about the stickers on Dom Sibley's bat? They are the stickers that you would have seen on a Gray Nichols Ultimate back in the mid-90s. I'm not sure if that's a decision he's made or a decision the company's made, but it hit me right in the soul seeing him walk out the bat with that today. My
nomination was so Joe Root. The one thing he didn't do very well early on, took a very dodgy run and very nearly got run out, and Ashwin just had to sort of parry it onto the stumps. And the Indians were pretty confident. They all got in their circle and they were feeling good about it while it went upstairs. And Joe Root just wandered over to the Indians circle and just sort of popped himself in there. What do you reckon, fellas? Was that out? Did you break the stumps with your hand, or did you get the ball onto it? Okay, yeah, cool. And then wandered off again to talk to his batting partner, which you don't normally see.
Yeah, well, there's obviously a collegiality between these teams, which wasn't necessarily the case in 2018. You might recall on this corresponding day, first day of the series, when Kohli runs Root out and really gives it to him. Today, when Root cramped up towards the end of play, there's the first man there, Virat Kohli, there to help him stretch his leg.
The stretches.
Help him stretch him back to full fitness.
Yeah, just tending his wounds cinematically. Let me sponge away that blood for you. And then they look at one another and they realise the true depth of their love. They realise
the two of them are back in the big four together. Something like that. Also, I loved the canned crowd noise. We've gotten used to through COVID. No crowds, of course, in Chennai this week, as there won't be throughout the series for obvious COVID reasons. But we're used to the canned buzz. I think they call it the Lord's hum, don't they, when England have been playing at home. Of course, they didn't need it in the Australia-India series because they had fans in there, but they went back to canned noise today. The problem is, though, they decided to use the tape where you can have a cheer when the time
there's a boundary or something.
Yeah, and Nick Tuvey, one of our patrons, pointed out that whoever was running running the panel misjudged a few times when they should turn up the cheering and turn down the cheering, and it didn't quite.
They were dozing a bit.
Work.
They were hitting the button a bit late.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be something we come back to time and time again throughout the course of the series. We have to make a decision. I should say before we decide who it's going to be, if you want the Hall of Fame to be yours, indeed, if you want the India-England Daily to be yours, your brand, your company, let us know. finalwordcricket@gmail.com. This is currently sponsorless, but hey, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people are listening to it. We had 170,000 people watch the final day at the Gabba a couple of weeks ago on YouTube. It was one of our biggest ever downloaded eps on the podcast feed as well. So if you want to talk to people all around the cricketing world, hit us up, finalwordcricket@gmail.com. Jeff?
And if you're watching this and you want to get Wisden Cricket Monthly at a sweet discount, best cricket mag in the world, the details are in the text down underneath. There's a special link that'll give you a sweet discount.
bit.com/WCMTFW. I've got it off the top of my head.
Just read the thing. It's down
there. Jeff, so Hall of Fame, who are we going to give it to? Who goes in there? Who's inducted on day one of India-England Daily?
I mean, there are a lot of good options there, but you nominated about 6 of them, so I feel like you're probably going to get the casting vote.
You know what? I think it's going to be that Root Kohli exchange towards the end of play. I think we'll remember that
for a while.
The budding
bromance between Root and Kohli.
Yeah, I wonder how long that's maintained for. But I suppose good early signs that they're getting on and they're respecting that there are a lot of good cricketers in this series, and thus there'll be a lot of fantastic cricket played.
And I think we should also note there are 2 other test matches happening. West Indies playing Bangladesh and also Pakistan and South Africa. Your boy Mehdi Hassan for Bangladesh, batting at 8, made a test ton, as they made 430 Bangladesh, and then the West Indies bowled out for about 270 in reply.
I've been banging on for a couple of years saying Mehdi Hassan could be an all-rounder. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but a test century certainly a step in the right direction. Doesn't
hurt the confidence. Craig Brathwaite made runs, Jermaine Blackwood made runs, and then over in the other game, the Pakistanis got bowled out for 270. South Africa's 2 for 50 in reply, looking like it's set up for another classic after Fame Ashraf made 78 not out, I reckon, towards the end. So there's so much test cricket going on.
We'll be wrapping up all the games again tomorrow, principally, of course, looking at England and India, but we'll go around the grounds each day with Geoff as well. This has been the Final Word, India-England Daily, day 1 at Chennai. Adam Collins and Geoff Lemon will be doing this every single day. Tell your friends. If you're new to the Final Word on the podcast or on the YouTube, tell them. If you want to get involved with what we do week in, week out, patreon.com/the Final Word. Is there anything I'm missing?
That's it. We're done. We're out of here.
We're done.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.